the data center lobby tends to flip between kind of happy optimism and a weird sort of passive helplessness, depending on what they're talking about. So if they're talking about voluntary actions to drive the energy transition, they can basically do anything, right? Like they can cover off 100% renewables. It's not a problem, et cetera, et cetera. But as soon as a regulation was proposed, they flipped to basically saying, oh, there's simply not enough renewable energy. There's not enough, there's too many constraints on the grid, there's not enough projects, which is a contradiction against their original message, which is the idea that data centers will be the thing that solves those problems. They're the things that create new force, new energy for the transition and renewable growth. We've got organizations like Anthropic, OpenAI, both companies that do not disclose a single digit of their energy and emissions data. Both companies that we know now for sure are building a material and serious amount of new fossil fuel infrastructure for their data centers. Anthropic just did a deal with xAI's gas-fired facilities in Memphis, Tennessee with Elon Musk. These are companies that very, very clearly are not invested in the energy transition, having any level of transparency whatsoever. And so they will bring these attitudes to Australia. They will try to greenwash and adapt to the rhetoric and the regulatory environment in Australia. They will fight hard against any regulation that implements real material restrictions on companies to obey the physical boundaries of the planet and human safety and environment when they build their data centers. There will be lobbying to weaken standards. And I think what happens in Australia will be one of the biggest fights in the world, right? This is something that is happening elsewhere. Companies like Amazon and Microsoft are starting to weaken their commitments. We're going to be seeing a whole slew of updates from their corporate reports in the coming weeks. And I think they're all going to show rising emissions, and it's going to explain why the companies are fighting against regulation and fighting against the efforts to make them actually clean up their own mess and pay attention to the physical limitations of where they're building.